Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Southwood Landscape and Garden Center, Tulsa's source for great gardens, southwoodgardencenter.com. And the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing. Today on Oklahoma Gardening, we examine all of the ills befalling our tomatoes and get some advice from OSU Extension plant pathologist John Damicone. Host Casey Hentges looks at a drought-tolerant perennial that's putting on quite a show. We have tips on entering horticultural items in your county fair. And we visit with a 4-H'er from Kingfisher County about her experiences, and then she prepares us a tasty recipe.
Today we're in our vegetable garden looking at some sad looking tomatoes, unfortunately, and joining us is Dr. John Damicone, who is our plant pathologist. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here today, Casey.
Thank you. So can you help us with our tomatoes? I know they're looking like a lot of people's right now.
Being a plant pathologist, I really like diseases, so it's pretty fun to be here. Anyway, one thing we have here that we found on some of these declining tomato plants is root knot nematode. And if you see those little galls in the roots, it can get much more severe than that. But those get into soil and they increase on plants like tomatoes, particularly if your rotation is limited, where your space is limited. It's a big problem in gardens in Oklahoma. It can hurt the vigor of the tomato plants, and it can actually kill them.
And so what's the best option to do if we know we have nematodes? I know crop rotation is always important.
Crop rotation is important, adding lots of organic matter.
Okay.
Nematodes really like sandier type soils that are well drained and have a lot of water. If you increase the organic matter, they can't move between those spaces in between the soil particles as well, and there's a lot of microbial activity in the soil, so they don't do as well.
Okay.
This is not particularly severe root knot here, but
because they can get as thick as your finger. Is that correct?
Exactly. Okay. I have that in my garden. And the way
it's good to know that even the expert has those problems.
And the way I deal with it is to plant nematode-resistant varieties that have the N designation. You know, many of the improved varieties will have a V for verticillium, which we don't have much of here. F for fusarium, we have quite a bit of that here. Okay. And then N for nematode. So if it's like a VFN variety, like a celebrity, for example, or there's lots of new ones.
That's going to give you your best
protection against root knot nematode.
And in fact, we have a couple of examples of choosing a hybrid that has some resistance versus some of your non-hybrids, your heirlooms and things like that. You can see how obviously our Sweet 100's doing much better, our Super Sweet 100. Yes, it is.
And I have really good luck with these cherries in my garden as well. For some reason they seem to, I guess they grow so vigorously that maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it's just the innate vigor of them.
Yeah. And perhaps maybe the fruit's not on there quite as long.
True. Yeah.
Making it susceptible. So you got some leaf damage to it for us.
Yeah, the other thing, our humidity's been really high here this year. Mm-hmm. And what have we had rainfall here in Payne County in June? We probably had close to 6 inches of rain.
Yeah.
So the humidity's been high, lots of rain, and we've seen a lot of foliar diseases. I have a student that's been going around surveying tomato diseases this year, and we're seeing lots of bacterial spot and speck, and that's what we're seeing on these leaves, these little brown spots that, now there's some insect feeding there also, but those little brown spots there and you flip the leaf over and they're kind of greasy. Well, they tend to be kind of greasy looking, but those will burn the lower leaves off the plant, and they will actually spot the fruit.
Okay.
We're seeing a lot of fruit spot this year. Typically we don't see as much of that, but and then we have fungus diseases too, like septoria over in Tulsa County, and then I think early blight's more of a problem in the southern part of the state. But here in the north central part of Oklahoma, we see lots of these bacterial diseases.
And is there anything we can do about these?
Unfortunately, for example, in peppers, you can get really good bacterial spot resistant varieties, but not in tomatoes. So we recommend that people spray preventively with copper. We call them copper fungicides, but the copper is one of the few materials that's active on bacteria.
Okay.
And you have to get on a schedule and start applying those before you see the problem, or you have to kind of anticipate it.
Okay.
Maybe start around bloom. And then if you're worried about residue on the fruit, you can kind of quit when it's picking time. But that period there, if you can minimize it, it will help. Bacterial spot and speck will not put you out of the tomato business. You'll still harvest fruit. It'll just cut your season short.
Okay.
Because as the disease moves up the plant, it exposes fruit to sun scald, and the plant vigor just declines over the season. So.
All right. So, and speaking of warmer temperatures and kind of slowing our harvest, I mean, the temperatures affect tomato harvest as well. A lot of people might not realize that, but the higher temperatures, the pollen actually becomes infertile.
Right. Yeah, it's harder to get fruit set. I think the humidity helps a little bit. Mm-hmm. When you get up in the hundreds, obviously it's not tomato weather. But highs in the mid-70s is not tomato weather. Lows in the mid-70s, excuse me, in the evenings. When it only gets down to 73, 74, and then it hits 90 the next day, that's where we get into a lot of these uneven ripening or blotchy ripening if you leave the fruit on the plant too long.
Right.
You know, we encourage people to, as soon as they start turning red, pick them then, bring them inside where it's 70 degrees, and have them ripen on your kitchen counter.
Okay. Well, right. Tomatoes, they're one of our favorites, but they're not always the easiest to grow.
No, there's entire books written on tomato diseases and insect pests, so they're tough.
All right.
Particularly in our climate.
Well, thank you, Dr. Damicone, for telling us this information.
Casey.
Some homeowners like to add a little tropical look to their backyard, and one way to do that is by adding the hardy bird of paradise, or Caesalpinia gillesii. And you can see it has a very delicate foliage with the pinnately compound leaf here, and also the yellow flower that has the red stamens coming out of it. Now, it might look like a demure plant, but it's anything but, and it's much tougher than it might look as well, as it will continue to produce flowers throughout the hot summer months for us. It is very drought tolerant, and in fact is hardy to zones 7. Now, in some areas it might actually die back to the ground, but you can protect it a little bit more by having a little more extra mulch on it during those winter months. While this plant can handle a range of soils, you want to make sure to give it plenty of room, as it can get well over 60 inches tall and 60 inches wide, even if it does die back to the ground each winter. This plant is a great addition if you're looking to add a little bit of tropical paradise to your backyard that's low maintenance, relatively pest-free, and also drought tolerant. You might remember last season, while I was on maternity leave with this little one, we spoke with area and county horticulture educators to learn a little bit more about the horticulture across the state. As with every season, their stories and the ideas were more plentiful than the actual television season. But those stories are very important and really interesting, and we still wanted to bring those to you this year. First up, we're going to speak with a 4-H'er about her experiences of gardening, and also Kenda Woodburn will share with us what it takes to bring home a blue ribbon at this year's Fall County Fair.
Hi, I'm Laine Martin. I'm the 4-H Youth Development Extension Educator for Kingfisher County. In Kingfisher County, we have about 300 4-H members along with 30 parent volunteers. They help me do my job. In 4-H, we have about every project imaginable that suits the child. We do robotics, we do livestock, and here we have Grace Krittenbrink from Okarche, and her project area is actually horticulture and plant science. So we have your planters here. That was part of your record book, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you do with them?
I water them every day. I miracle grow them once a week. I pull all the weeds out of them, deadhead them, and get all the dead stuff out of them.
So how did you even start this project?
First, I went to the mayor and made sure it was okay if I could take over the planters in the middle of town. Then I did soil testing, added some more soil, killed all the ants because some of the planters had a little bit of ant problem. And then I went and talked to my dad about what type of plants are good for this type of environment, getting wind whipped, or like the different sun layers. Mm-hmm. And then I got the plants, planted them, and then I added mulch, and then I continued watering them.
So the soil tests, did you take those to your local extension office?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What about, do you do anything else with your project besides these planters?
I have a family garden at my grandma's and my great-grandma's house.
What about at camp? You taught kids about edible soil, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We did a cup full of pudding as like your bed soil. And then we did the topsoil, which is Oreos. And then for like your grass, we did colored coconut. And then we added worms as your decomposers.
Awesome. So did the kids like that?
Yes, they loved it.
You think they learned a little bit about plants at 4-H camp?
I hope so.
Okay. So what do you hope to plan to keep doing with your project?
I plan to continuing my projects in town and then continue at state level, continue to teach the youth about like where your food comes from and how it got to your plate. The older people in town love them. And
so what do they think when you tell them it's your 4-H project?
They think it's a great idea, and they say more people should get involved in 4-H.
Do you have any advice for anybody who's trying to get their record book going?
I would just say, just take a step forward and don't look back.
Okay, Grace. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you have school to get ready for.
No problem.
Hello, I'm here today at Tulsa County Free Fair. We're during fair season in August and September, and part of my duties in Tulsa County and in Osage County are to judge the horticulture exhibits. And today I'm judging flowers and fruit and potted plants and all different kind of ornamentals. And the free fair here in Tulsa County is usually well attended. You notice we have a good number of different of the bouquets. Every year, a lot of it is judged to how good the flowers look in the pots, how fresh they are, the overall symmetry, the number of different types of flowers used, and just a lot of it is based on horticulture knowledge, but is also based on personal preference. I try never to use personal preference in judging until I get down to where I have a tie where I cannot split it based on any other horticulture reasons, and then at some point you just have to make a decision. We place first, second, third, fourth, fifth. In some places I've judged, they only do first through third. I just judged a fair in Sedan, Kansas last week, and they only have first through third. Here in Tulsa and Osage County, we have first through fifth. And since it's a free fair, we just encourage everybody in the community to enter. We'd always like more entrants than what we get, but we do have a nice number. And if you look, this year we had some nice cucumbers that were entered in our fair. And I'm always judging, like with our fruits and vegetables, we have like different heirlooms. When you judge an heirloom against a conventional variety, I try to judge it according to what that variety is supposed to look like. Because see, sometimes when they're heirlooms, they might look a little bit funky, they might have a little bit of cracking, but that's kind of normal for that variety. But it just depends on the freshness. Like this is a wonderful cucumber. I placed this first. There's 3, you need 3 to a plate. There's certain numbers you need. I placed this first, very nice, not overripe, not underripe. And then we have some odd varieties. I have to place, this is more of a normal pickling, and then we have the canning varieties, slicing varieties, and then this is a lemon cucumber. For those of you that have never seen one, they don't taste like lemons, but they're yellow, but you can slice them and they're just perfect for putting on a hamburger. When you're grilling out, you can slice it thin and put it right on that hamburger, and it covers the whole patty. And this one actually got a 5th place because it's a little bit overripe. You can tell by how hard it is, but it's still a very nice one, and the inside is still tender. And I wanted to mention too, when you are entering into a fair, always bring your freshest produce. If you have some that has like a blemish on it that's a cut or a wound, it's going to rot before the fair actually gets judged a lot of times. So always bring your freshest. We like them uniform on the plate. We like them fresh, and we like that you grew it personally. One thing wonderful that happened at our fair this year, you know about the decline in the honeybees? Well, a lot of our honeybee razor growers have entered honey into the fair this year for the first time. We've got the most entries we've ever had. Before we only had to separate our honeys into dark and light honey because we didn't have that many entrants. Next time we're going to have dark amber, which is in between dark and light, and then the light honeys. One of the things I judge in the fairs with the honeys, this was our first place dark, was we look at clarity within it. I use a light to backlight it. I also hold it up to natural light to see if there's any impurities in the honey. This is an exceptionally nice dark one that won first place. In our local fairs, we can only judge by whether you want it to fill up the jar and not be any less than 1/2 inch from the top lid, and you want it to be very sparkling and nice. In the state fair, I also am allowed to eat it. I get to taste it and smell the aroma. In this case, I could only look at how it looks in the jar and how much clarity there is. So I was kind of limited in how easily I could judge. But everyone here was a very nice honey, and I'm very grateful to our beekeepers for bringing these in. That was our dark honey. We had 1 comb honey entry, so I hope we get more next year. But part of judging for the comb, see the nice comb in there? This is our dark honey. You want the comb to go from here all the way within 1/2 inch or to the top of the lid, so there's no big space there. And this is an absolutely wonderful dark honey that was entered this year. I wanted to encourage everybody, no matter which county you're in, to enter into your county fairs. It really is a lot of fun, and you get a lot of experience on learning about you know, what actually will place in a fair. You get to meet nice people and have a lot of fun and just encourage local agriculture by entering. And also I want to mention this year I had a wonderful opportunity, this year and last year, Langston University has a UR program which is for teaching youth about urban agriculture and sustainability. I had two great interns, Chloe and Erica, that worked with me this year, and I just wanted to thank Langston for pairing with OSU and other farmers to let us have these youth, and it's a paid internship, and hopefully we'll have that available next year where I can have an intern as well.
Hi, my name is Grace Krittenbrink with the Okarche 4-H Club in Kingfisher County, and today I'll be demonstrating how to make sassy salsa. Gardening is one of my main project areas in 4-H, and during the summer I grow a lot of tomatoes, peppers, and onions in my family garden. This recipe that I'll be demonstrating is one of my family favorites. Ingredients needed are 1 tomato, and depending on your garden, you can have big tomato, Romans, or cherry popper tomato. The next ingredient is 1/4 onion, 2 or 3 leaves of cilantro, a half of a lime, and 1 tablespoon finely chopped jalapeno peppers, and a dash of salt. I have prepared and pre-measured most of my ingredients to save time. First, you add your tomatoes, onions, and your cilantro. Then you squeeze your lime juice. Add that to your glass bowl. Then you do your jalapeno. And you want to make sure it's finely chopped. And then if you're allergic to jalapenos, one of the ways that you can prevent from preventing allergic reaction, you can wear rubber gloves, which is what one of my family members has to do because she breaks out. Then you want to make sure. Then you want to add your salt, just a little dash. And then stir it all together. And then you can either serve immediately or cover and refrigerate. Salsa is loaded with vitamins A and C for healthy eyes and healthy skin. This salsa is also 1 serving of vegetables. If you're a young person ages 9 to 18 and are interested in learning life skills through fun activities, contact your local extension office.
There are lots of great horticultural events this time of year. Be sure and consider these activities when you're making your plans for the weeks ahead. Next week, we visit a retired landscape designer who is still adding beauty around his home within a senior housing addition. We travel to Atoka, Oklahoma with OSU area horticulturalist Jim Schreffler to look in on the process of a certified organic inspection. And we visit a beautiful home garden done in a palette we are pretty sure you have never seen before. We hope you join us then for more TV you'll grow to love. To find out more information about show topics, as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure and visit our website, oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. And we always have great information, answers to questions, photos, and gardening discussions on your favorite social media as well. Join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows, as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater jewel. We wish to thank our generous underwriters, Southwood Landscape and Garden Center, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is provided by Pond Pro Shops, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, and the Oklahoma Horticultural Society.